Hello, this is Kerry Shamblin with the August 2023 Vedic Astrology forecast. First, a summary from the 9 planets. The Sun transits the watery sign of Cancer from July 16th through August 17th, and then moves into Leo from August 17th through September 17th. The shift of the Sun into his own sign of Leo on August 17th could feel quite mixed, a bit jolting, almost like a confident entrance that is met with an already started crowd brawl. The theme of the Sun in Leo this year pushes us toward going for what we desire in the face of conflicting data. Remain focused on the pure fire of the creative spark as you make decisions about how to express. August will begin and end with full moons, making this a rare calendar month that features 2 instead of 1. August 1st is a full moon in Capricorn, and August 30th is a full moon in Aquarius. Both of the signs hosting the full moons are ruled by Saturn, showing that these bright moments may be focused on bringing relief to those who are suffering, not turning away from the darkness. The first half of August sees the moon waning, melting into the light of the sun for the new moon on August 16th in the sign of Cancer. This could be a time of inevitable change, coupled with exhaustion and a desire for retreat or surrender. Mars completes his Leo transit on August 18th, moving on to Virgo from August 18th through October 3rd. Due to the power of Mars being well set in Leo, yet under fire from a slew of influences cast toward Leo from the outer planets, we may feel an increase in intensity with work and resources that colors the first half of August. When Mars shifts to Virgo in mid-August, we may feel as if we can start our engines and get on the road. The tables may turn toward being in motion and choosing routes after a couple months of frustrating or confusing circumstances. Mercury spends the month of August in Leo, with a retrograde cycle beginning August 23rd that continues through September 15th. All of this talk about how stormy the weather is in Leo right now could come under new management as August progresses. Mercury is great at creating organization in chaotic situations. Best efforts could misfire. When Mercury takes up retrograde motion on August 23rd, the best advice is to resist the urge for speed and take more time for deliberation and fact-finding. Jupiter transits Aries from April 21st, 2023 through April 30th, 2024 for 1 year in Mars's fiery first sign of the zodiac. Jupiter's spacious presence has been struggling to make things whole due to the space sharing with Rahu since April of 2023. This has been an intense few months where truth and fiction vie for power and expression. For a few more months, this tricky combination persists, giving us an opportunity to winnow for grains of truth. In learning how to spot the masqueraders in the crowd, we can build on our own experience and invest in safer bets in the future. Venus begins August in retrograde motion in Leo, moving backwards and returning to Cancer on August 7th, then resuming direct motion in early September. This could indicate some emotional situations around relationships during August. Spending time alone in order to sort out feelings could be a good choice. This retreat of Venus through August and September could act as an incubator for new relationships or as a rehabilitation center after the fallout of a breakup. In other ways, this position of Venus in Cancer is supportive of healing, dietary improvements, spending time with loved ones, and emotional rejuvenation. Saturn will occupy his air sign, Aquarius, through March 2025. This shows us a lighter side of Saturn, less concerned with the work of the world and more concerned with its workers, human equality that is a fact of life. Saturn's heavy vibes may be a bit faster and lighter through October due to Saturn in a retrograde phase. This creates an interesting framework for the current moment, indicating that we may have to twist our plans and strategies a bit in order to make things work for the greater good. We could also be experiencing slight changes in responsibilities or orientation toward colleagues. The ingenious but unpredictable energy of Rahu continues to ignite the fire signs Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. The nodal axis is made up of Rahu, the head, and Ketu, the tail, of the cosmic dragon, and moves in tandem reverse motion, churning our lives. Rahu is in Aries through late October 2023. Rahu pairing up with Jupiter after the other party members have moved on creates a strong inflationary energy that will be traveling into the other fire signs, most notably Leo, through October. The always retrograde Rahu inspires erratic behaviors and untraditional approaches, with the many other planets retrograde in August, including Venus, Saturn, and Mercury. This unstable influence could be amplified. A great time to keep those eyes and ears open, observing the fantastic mechanisms of life on Earth. Ketu, the silent counterpart of Rahu, will remain in Venus's air sign Libra through late October 2023. The effects of Ketu can feel like obstruction, blindness, or reversal of situations. After 15 months of blocking our ideas about all things social, as of August, the obstructive Ketu has a few more months of damming the flow. Rather than being impatient about the stagnation of the stream, use this dry time to understand how the shape of that riverbed creates the beautiful ribbon of water. Taking a break from social responsibilities is very inviting. Get your work done, but indulge in removing yourself from activities that aren't feeding you. For an in-depth analysis of specific planetary placements, please continue listening to the full planetary forecast. Full moon in Capricorn, Shravan, August 1st. The sun and moon face off, resulting in the bright full moon of August 1st, with the sun placed in the moon's watery sign of Cancer and the moon opposite in Saturn's earth sign, Capricorn. With both luminaries placed at 16 degrees of their respective occupied signs, we find 6 of the 9 planets occupying the opposite signs ruled by Saturn and the luminaries. Let's explore what themes this may set up for the remainder of August. The configuration we find in the luminaries camp is Sun placed in Cancer and Mars, Mercury, and retrograde Venus placed in Leo. In the opposite signs, Moon occupies Capricorn and retrograde Saturn in Aquarius opposes the trio in Leo. This array activates all 4 elements, represented in these 4 signs. Cancer is water, Leo is fire, Capricorn is earth, and Aquarius is air. Strongly linking into this relatively balanced structure is the Rahu and Jupiter combination from Aries, with Jupiter exactly aspecting his dispositor, Mars. This is an injection of powerful, fiery energy. Woven into the dynamic of Saturn with the luminaries is the exploration of boundary and separation as an element of relationship. We often think of relationship as a celebration of attraction and the tendency to hold others close, which isn't wrong. But it turns out that the wisdom and experience of Saturn urges us to accept that no matter how harmonious or passionate our connections and contracts are, we still have an individual path and karmic responsibility that requires saying no to some things in relationship. This full moon actually sees an opposition between Saturn and Venus, both retrograde and occupying the signs of Saturn and the Sun. With retrograde Saturn in Aquarius, we are on a fast track to rebalancing our relationships, pushing forward with saying no with freedom and confidence. Opposite in the individualistic sign of Leo, we find the champion of the collective, Venus, also in retrograde motion. This could signal some radical shifts in perception when it comes to what's yours and what's mine. As the moon begins to move out of this opposition and wanes to join the sun as he transits from Cancer to Leo mid-month, we may find ourselves letting go of some agendas while insisting on others as we move away from unhealthy relationship patterns. Remember that letting go really happens before the first step is taken in a new direction. Be clear about attachments, direction, and practical self-acceptance. Venus in Cancer, August 7th through October 1st. After a steady rush toward Mars through the spring and summer, Venus slowed and stationed retrograde on July 23rd. This will create space between the fiery Mars and the watery Venus, lessening that passionate energy that we may have been tapping into since May. Venus has been in retrograde motion in the early degrees of Leo since July 23rd and will conjoin with Mercury during the last week of July. Mercury will move forward into Leo, pushing ahead toward Mars, and Venus will slip back through the critical degrees that transition between Cancer and Leo, the first Gandanta of the zodiac. The first week of August sees Venus reverse swan dive through this space, entering into the late degrees of Cancer on August 7th. With Venus, the representative of connective actions, in retrograde motion and transitioning back into watery Cancer, we may be experiencing a reorganization of relationship in some form. Venus remains in retrograde motion for the entire month of August, with the main shift being during the sign change on August 7th. The sign of Cancer at this time can act as a good shelter for retrograde Venus, who may have begun a cycle of overwhelm, as Leo is under an immense amount of influence from the challenging planets of Saturn and Rahu, balanced somewhat by a positive push from Jupiter. Venus will enjoy this protected environment through October 1st, when once again Venus pushes through the Cancer-Leo Gandanta, demanding once again a new start for creative processes and relationship phases. Venus stations for direct motion at 19 degrees Cancer on September 3rd. The beginning of September could show the birth of a higher form of relating, creating, and rejuvenating based on the mental and physical cleansing available while Venus spends more time in the moon's watery sign of Cancer. With the major significations of Venus being relationship, partnership, love, and connection, this retrograde phase could signal a turnaround in that realm of life. This doesn't mean a loss necessarily, but in fact could signal a reprise of relationship that may have ended, stagnated, or failed to launch. It could mean a loss also, especially of relationship that has been frustrating, unclear, or unsupportive. The theme of this time could be integrating the awareness of selfish tendencies within relationship. The retreat of Venus back to Cancer should be supportive for taking these lessons to heart, healing the wounds that may be present, and reorienting to a rejuvenating and nurturing approach to relationships and deep sharing. New moon in Cancer, Ashlesha, August 16th. In the wee hours of August 16th, the moon slips in to share the same degree with the sun, 29 degrees Cancer, for a short moment before shifting from the waning to the waxing phase, which happens each month at the new moon. With retrograde Venus running into combustion with the sun during the first week of August, this proximity to the sun removes evening star Venus from sight in the western sky after sunset. For a couple weeks, Venus remains in tight conjunction with the sun, finally re-emerging into the eastern sky pre-dawn for the morning star apparition that begins in late August. This new moon moment overlays the new Venus moment. That is also a reality due to the retrograde Venus combustion status. The trio of the luminaries with retrograde Venus in the late degrees of Cancer, more specifically in the nakshatra Ashlesha, indicates that it's time to count on something new that could be built on the footprints of the past. With most of the strong transit dynamics pulled together in the signs of Aries and Leo, we may feel inspired to whip up a new paradigm from a seemingly random array of creative detritus that has accrued on our shores. With Saturn in Aquarius opposing Mars and Mercury in Leo, we are urged to be practical and conservative with our hard-earned resources, striving for dynamic management of rapidly developing situations. The Sun transits Leo from August 17th through September 17th. Following the waxing moon into Leo just after the new moon, the Sun enters into his own fire sign of Leo on August 17th for the annual transit that stretches from mid-August to mid-September when reckoned with the observable sidereal zodiac. In both 2023 and 2024, our Sun in Leo transit will be opposed by retrograde Saturn from Aquarius. In 2023 only, Leo will be receiving the additional aspect from the combination of Jupiter and Rahu in Aries. This intense beam into Leo will break up slowly, with the Rahu-Ketu axis shifting in November of 2023 and Jupiter moving from Aries to Taurus on April 30th, 2024. This could be a notable Sun in Leo transit due to the many influences coming into Leo. Especially during the first couple of days at mid-August, with Mars also in Leo, we could find ourselves in memorable circumstances. Even more likely to play into these circumstances will be Mercury, retrograde in Leo from August 23rd through September 15th, for the remainder of the Sun's transit there. This posits retrograde Mercury in Leo opposing retrograde Saturn in his own sign of Aquarius. This combination is supportive of establishing new habits that support personal growth, which is one way of leaning away from historical, deeply rooted patterns of stagnancy or contraction. Good themes to explore during this time are studies of what selfish actually means. Retrograde Saturn in Aquarius remains a champion of the masses, but can also stretch to understand particular individual needs. The Sun opposite, with retrograde Mercury, also encourages self-examination and recalibration. This is a good time for learning that what is good for all is generally good for each individual in most circumstances. Be aware of strong personal agendas whose cost is the satisfaction and protection of the collective. Mars transits Virgo from August 18th through October 3rd. The next push of Mars comes as he transits Virgo from August 18th to October 3rd, which puts him in a position to make upgrades, destroy bad habits, distribute wealth, and orient to new lessons plans. This shift of Mars out of Leo and into Virgo could result in a turning of tables. While in Leo, Mars was receiving pressure from Saturn, topped off with a hopeful outlook, combined with the erratic planning due to Rahu and Jupiter's combined aspect from Aries. When Mars passes into Virgo, the pressure is off. Reorganizing is possible. Power is harvested. And rather than getting blown about by Jupiter and Rahu, Mars points his fiery gaze instead at his own sign of Aries and the inflated complications that stem from the compound influence of the Guru and the Joker. What a great time to get perspective about what is working or not in jobs, businesses, education processes, and health maintenance programs. Mars offers logic when it comes to making difficult choices that will ultimately support efficiency and health. With Mars aspecting Aries during his time in Virgo, we could perhaps find the courage and resources to engineer our next move. Beware of hasty choices made out of frustration or duress. Choose deliberation over erratic behavior during this time. Discipline and planning will win the day. Mercury retrograde in Leo, August 23rd through September 15th. Adding to the retrograde bonanza, Mercury initiates retrograde motion on August 23rd at 28 degrees of Leo. He walks back through the Sun's fire sign until September 15th, when he resumes direct motion at 14 degrees Leo. It should be noted that during this Mercury retrograde, which is receiving the aspect of Saturn retrograde, that Jupiter, also aspecting Mercury, will begin a retrograde phase that goes from September 4th through December 30th. Let's also remember that Venus is also retrograde in Cancer through September 3rd. As soon as Venus goes direct on September 3rd, Jupiter goes retrograde on September 4th. How do we interpret this? Well, anything could happen, and then totally reverse, and then happen again. Retrograde planets can behave erratically, making their influence difficult to predict. Especially with the aspect of two powerful retrograde planets coming in at Mercury, we could find that things are up in the air, with multiple sets of plan changes along the way, during the few weeks straddling August and September. Additionally, Mercury's best buddy Venus will also be retrograde through September 3rd, which increases the anything could happen energy. If you are craving stability and clarity about relationships, business decisions, creative projects, or learning trajectories, you may have to settle into the easy chair of unknowing for a bit longer. It's a good time for encountering fleeting opportunities, riding the tides, revisiting shelved items, and checking out what's on the back burner. Full moon in Aquarius, Shatabishak, August 30th. The second full moon of August comes on August 30th, as the moon pushes into opposition with the sun in the nakshatra of Shatabishak, within the sign of Aquarius. The reflected light of the sun from Leo will shine onto the beautiful face of the full moon and could offer some clarity in the midst of the rocky ride some of us may be experiencing. Moon joins retrograde Saturn in his own sign of Aquarius, while Sun opposes in his own sign of Leo, joined by his sidekick, retrograde Mercury. The luminary energy is shaped and guided by skillful Mercury and experienced Saturn, helping us to understand the long-term costs and effects of what we may be currently creating. This is a great moment to recalibrate and rebalance. Early September sees the retrograde train keep going but change tracks, as Venus goes direct and Jupiter goes retrograde. It would be good to decide where to be first so that you can know what to do next. Thanks for listening. Please tune in for the September forecast. Have a great month.